Welcome back to the Battery Podcast. I'm Aidan,
And I'm Jack.
and we are very excited to bring to you this Monday morning a recap of the Cannons' huge win in Fairfield against the New York Atlas, 17 to 12. Kind of turns, I won't say the Eastern Conference on its head, but it makes the last three games of the year for each team a lot more interesting.
Definitely. I think that Atlas, that they were so good or have been so good all
Yeah,
year. And there was that blip to the Whip Snakes a few weeks ago where, okay, you you knock them off the pedestal a little bit. They're not going to go undefeated, which it looked like they very well
yeah,
could have through their first four games of the season. But still, it kind of, especially after that 17-4
I know.
beatdown they put on Denver in Boston, it felt like that might just be a little speed bump in the road. The fact that it was such a back and forth game and then the Cannons just opened it up at the end, I think sort of showed a blueprint in a way for how to beat New York. Granted, it will be easier said than
Mhm.
done for their last three games of the season. I don't even know what their schedule looks like, who they have,
It's two
but
against the Water Dogs. I know
two
that.
against
I don't know who
okay.
the third one is. Let me look that up. Uh,
But
yeah.
so it'll be interesting to see how things go the rest of the year because now it I mean Cannons and
Water
Atlas
Dogs,
are
Archers, Water Dogs is their final three.
Water Dogs. So that's three tough games. Although the Water Dogs kind of
Yeah,
stink.
I don't know, Jim.
I think the Water Dogs are bad, but that's neither here nor there right now. Point is that Cannons everyone's been riding the Atlas
Hmm.
all year long, and Cannons and Atlas are both 5-2.
Yeah,
Granted, the score differential is still plus 23 and plus 10, 13 difference, which is also happens to be the exact margin that they beat Denver by in
yeah,
Boston. So that's really just
that's
kind of
insane.
screwing up the standings. There is that's it's going to be so tough for the Cannons to overcome that score differential if they want the one seed. They're just going to have to win one more game than the Atlas out of their last three. Don't really want that to happen. I think we've
Yeah, me
talked
neither.
about that before, both
Yeah,
as a
I'm glad
Cannons.
the Atlas have such a lead in
Yeah,
the score
like
differential.
I want to watch the Cannons at Gillette because I'm a fan and I'll be there in person. And we've also talked about it's you already have basically 2.5 weeks off from the end of the season to Gillette.
Yeah,
We don't need to have 3.5, and especially because then you're playing someone who did play the week before. So
yeah,
but that's neither here nor there. Uh, the game itself on Saturday was so fun, back and forth. Uh, Jeff Trainor put the Cannons up 9-7 late in the second, and
yep,
that was the only time that there was more than a one goal lead in the first
yep,
half. And then it wasn't really until the three twos in a row from the end of the third to the start of the fourth when the Cannons really opened things up. So it was just super entertaining going
yeah.
back and forth. You feel good. We score, oh, but then they tie it. Then we score again, and then they tie it again. But and then that was get two in a row. So now they're up one, and you're like, oh crap. But then we tie it. Like it was just it was wild. It was
Yeah, it was
absolutely wild.
incredible. That first half, especially given that that game was on ABC, that is
Oh,
everything that the league, that ABC, that ESPN wanted
yeah.
in a bunch of goals, really good game, like really good teams playing and
The
like
the
back and forth.
geographic rivalry
Yeah.
that so like going into it already, they're hyping up Boston, New York, Boston, New York, and already potential game of the year.
Yeah. Oh,
Like
absolutely.
that was phenomenal.
Yeah. Um, yeah, true. Like the Harvard atmosphere was better because that was all cannons and especially like,
Yeah,
the Water Dogs
how
are the most
was
hated team.
the fan? What was it like in person? Because I know it was sold out, so the crowd
Yeah.
was at least large and had to be into it.
Right. So I would say it was more Atlas fans than Cannons fans. I know maybe some people saw on our Instagram story. I met up with Scott and Gage from the Stampede. They
Yeah.
obviously sat behind the Atlas bench. I sat behind the Cannons. Um, but it was, I mean, we had we sat right in front of Zach Tucci's family, and Ethan
Mm,
Rawls' family was next to them. So we had a good
awesome.
contingent. Tucci's dad was really giving it to the refs about Baptiste. He thought Baptiste kept going early. Um,
Really?
yeah, which I mean, I think I agree, but Baptiste probably gets the benefit of the doubt, and I think it's true in any sport is that the elite people at any position are the best at like bending the rules in a way that's not egregious
Mm,
enough to get called. Like I
it's
remember
probably
reading,
why they're the best.
yeah, Patrice Bergeron cheats a lot on faceoffs, but in just the right way
Right.
that a ref's not going to call him. But anyway, so Zach Tucci's dad was fun to listen to. Um, the crowd itself, like there were again more Atlas than Cannons, but the Cannons had a solid contingent. I mean, the players themselves you could see were hyped up. Holman, every time he scores, especially when I think he's got three twos now. Each of them, he does a great celebration. Verdaro's goals are so juiced, and I mean, no one's gonna get the crowd going more than the governor.
Oh,
Um, that
talk about
trainer too, I lost my mind.
that. The GUVNAH
Yeah.
Jeff Trainor game. Wow. That first time scores like, oh, cool. Jeff Trainor scored. Let's go. That's awesome. I'm hyped. Then he puts in a second one, and it's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It like his older brother Dan was at the watch party at West End Johnny's. Thumbs up. Zoom loves
Yeah.
loves the governor. But we were talking with Dan, and he's saying that after the second goal we were talking about, wait, I think that's Jeff Trainor's first multi-goal game since UMass. Like
Oh
he
wow.
like technically he had a few champ series, not this year, but
Yeah.
last year when he was still with the Archers, but that's champ series. Like you're putting up 20 something. So that
Yeah.
doesn't count. Like regular 10 on 10 field lacrosse. Last time Jeff Trainor had a multi-goal game was at UMass, and his fifth year was 2021. So that's 3 years ago. He's never had a multi-goal game in the pros. And so you're like, oh wow, this is so cool. He's got 2 goals, which doubles his total for the season. So already you're feeling great about how
Yeah.
he's playing. And then you feel great about the Cannons going back to back on 2 bombs from Holman and Kirst. And then Trainer just coming in,
Yeah.
row hop. He had so much space like
Yeah.
that.
It was
I
it was
I
definitely like the Atlas did not think he was really going to shoot. And honestly, I
no.
wasn't sure he was really going to shoot.
Well, I think he thought about it earlier in the game, like thought
Yeah.
about pulling up from two, and he didn't. He ended up passing, but that was literally you heard Ryan Boyle say it on the broadcast. Well, I guess you were there, so you didn't hear it,
Yeah.
but I heard Ryan Boyle on the broadcast say it like the amount of time and room and crow hop that he had into it. Ryan Boyle goes, that's literally like playing in the backyard. Like he had all of the time in the world to just step into that thing and let it go, and you could see Entenmann was so pissed off. Like he just held his pose for so long. And so when Trainer buried that to complete, he completes the hat trick with a 2 bomb, and it's
Yep.
their third 2 bomb in a row. So now they're up 16-9 in the fourth quarter. I mean, we saw you on the broadcast actually right after that game. You and Saul with the
Yeah.
camera immediately went right to you guys. You were
Oh,
pumping the
let's go.
Trainer fat head, and we were oh my gosh, that was electric.
Yeah.
That was so awesome.
I only wish that the whole crowd from Harvard could have come down with us because I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
and it was more people than would have fit in Fairfield Stadium, unfortunately. But especially if we could have gotten like even 50%, 20% of those people behind the Cannons bench to like just go as nuts as we did in Harvard
Yeah.
for not a more well, I'd say I mean the Cannons themselves are saying it for like a playoff type game, like
Mm,
probably the most important. Now, obviously, when you want to win this second of homecoming, you don't want to go 0-2 there, but
right.
like this game, I think it gave a lot of belief to me and myself. I just was checking earlier. the sportsbook odds, the Atlas are still the favorite to win the title, but the odds for them have went down. The Cannons have obviously gone up.
Mm,
Um, yeah, I have all the confidence in the world in this team now. Like watching the Redwoods the next day, I was like, how the hell did the Cannons lose to that team? But
true.
I have all the confidence in the world.
Well, everyone's been riding the Atlas all year long,
Yep.
and credit where credit is due. They have been insane all year long. Both teams, like I said, they're both 5-2.
Yeah.
You throw out the blowout to Denver, which is just ridiculous, and I feel like it shouldn't happen week in and week out.
No, I mean, I'm sure if
And
they
they're
play again, that game will
it,
be a lot closer.
yeah. So it, it's practically a wash there.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean,
but a wash as in they're both
goal
five and
differential.
two, and
Right.
the goal differential is probably not going to be as drastic as that is, which means the Cannons are only going to probably be a few goals behind them
Yeah.
in score differential. So like Cannons just as good as Atlas,
Oh,
I think.
absolutely.
Can't
And
like
yeah, I think we also we just need to give the proper appreciation to what this defense did. The
yeah.
the absurd year that the attack for them, obviously Jeff Teat specifically. So Jeff Teat with 1 point would set the single season PLL scoring record in his seventh game out of 10, which is unreal. He got that, I think it was still the first quarter. He finished the game, 2 assists. Xander Dixon, 1 goal. Connor Schellenberger, no points. They held like that line by themselves has probably scored more goals than the Redwoods have all year.
That
If
that line was the East starting attack in the All-Star game last week.
yeah,
There are three starting attackmen on a lacrosse field. The three starters for the New York Atlas were also the three starters for the East All-Star team. They quite literally have an all-star attack line,
yeah,
and they
we combine
combined
points.
for 3 points, one
Yeah,
goal, 2 assists.
yeah. To do that now,
That's ridiculous.
I know. I'm sure there's some misfired passes that wouldn't happen again. I know Xander dropped the pass right on the crease that 9 times out of 10, 99 times out of 100 he catches. But
Yeah.
still, if it's 2 goals, 2 assists instead, like to hold that, I'm sure Jeff Teat is a humble, incredible person as well. Honestly, he probably doesn't like that he's so good because it gets him a lot of attention that he doesn't feel comfortable with.
True.
But what a for Atlas fans, what a disappointing record-breaking game that was for them. That I mean, props to Thomas McGovern, 2 goals himself early in the game,
Logan.
and Logan McGovern. That's right. I was combining that with Thomas McConvey from the Water
Mm,
Dogs. Logan McGovern, also from Darien, Connecticut. So very cool that he got to make his debut in Fairfield.
yeah.
Uh, but you had leading scorer Brian Costabile, 4 points, two each. Then Miles Jones with 3 points, 2 goals and an assist.
Yep.
No one else on the Atlas had more than 2 points. Like it's pretty balanced scoring, obviously.
And it was balanced for both teams. I think there were 8 different goal scorers in the first half across the board. I think I saw that stat at halftime.
Yeah.
Like both teams were really sharing the rock. I mean, we just talked about Jeff Trainor obviously had a hat trick. Marcus Holman led all scorers with 5 points. I think it was 3 goals, 1-2, 1 assist. But Asher scored. Connor Kirst scored. Vidaro scored. Ethan
Holman.
Rawls scored. Well, yeah, obviously Holman. Cav, I think
Oh, Campbell in the first half.
Campbell got in there.
Matt
Like,
Cavanaugh did not score.
no,
He had 1 assist.
Will Manny. Will Manny next week.
I think we might see it. Yeah. Um,
I think
uh,
it's time.
yeah, I'm
I
excited.
think I think it's I think it's time for our child to finally come home.
Yes, our
It's
child
time.
is older than both of us.
Yes,
Yeah,
I think it's time.
I'm excited to see whatever decision they make. Obviously, I have all the confidence in the world in Brian Holman.
Yeah,
Uh, but I think you got to throw Will Manny out there. He's obviously rested. He's got a lot of goals left in that stick. I think.
I
He's
agree.
got the track record as well.
Yeah,
Uh, I definitely understand they picked him up midweek. You don't want to necessarily throw him in. It's probably even after the Cannons maybe had already had their Zoom meeting. So to put him in the lineup with like one practice and like a couple phone calls is probably, we saw that with Pat Cav in week one.
Yeah.
Not a
Granted, Pat Cav was coming off a bit of a crazier week than
yes,
Will
much
Manny
crazier.
would be coming off of. So I think physically, Will Manny would have been fine,
Yeah, but
but there
strategy
is
wise,
something strategy wise
yeah,
to be said. And I think we've got Denver
yeah,
this week
it's
in San
Denver and San
Diego.
Diego.
Yeah. So, oh my gosh, Will Manny versus Eric Law. I know
I
it's not
know
like
the legacy.
verse, but like the two homecoming sort of guys, that'll be a fun matchup if
Yeah,
we can see him in the lineup next week.
and
But let's
just
save
to
that.
yeah, to briefly mention another game. Of course, Eric Law got the first goal of the game for the Outlaws.
True,
Yeah, of course.
true.
Um, yeah, couldn't. That's exactly how you'd script it.
But yeah, back to our
Yeah, back
game.
to the Cannons. That was just a brief aside.
That what else? What
I mean,
Colin Kirst stood on his head,
oh yeah,
especially in the second half. That
yeah.
was ridiculous. I think the Atlas, it was over 15 minutes that they went without a goal. It was 9-8 at the
Yeah.
half, and they scored to tie it at 9
They
early in the
they
third.
scored a minute 15 into the third,
Yep. And then it
and they did
wasn't
not
until
score
later in the
again
fourth.
until almost halfway through. So it's 10 minutes plus 5 minutes. Yeah,
It
15.
was over 15 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
about exactly.
Because they made it was not, yeah, 9-8 at half, early in the third, 9-9 game. And then Trainor scored his second of the game, I believe it was, to make it 10-9. And then it was the
The two
run
point.
of the run of twos,
Yeah,
12-9, 14-9, 16-9, and then Atlas got three in a row in the fourth before I think
yeah,
it was Verdaro
yes,
that shut it down with like a minute left to give us the final.
yep.
Um, so yeah, that it was a really, really good performance by the defense to shut down that attack line, and definitely backwalled by Kirst,
Oh yeah,
holding them scoreless for the majority of the second half, only giving up four
four.
goals in the second half to that team.
I know,
Crazy.
unreal. Yeah,
That's crazy. That save he had on Miles Jones too, coming right across the crease. I don't know. Even on the what did that hit? Did that hit his shaft? Did
I don't know. It
or
might
I
have. I
think
think
that
that was
might
the
have
far end
I
for
think
me.
that might have been a shaft save. Like
Yeah,
I was like, I thought for sure Miles had a hat trick there. And
yeah.
then they kept playing and I was like, wait, what? Like that didn't go in? What? Like,
I know. I
okay.
mentally, I had already counted that as a goal. Like as soon as I saw Jones free across the crease, I'm like, all right, well,
Well,
and only to be, yeah, that was, I stood up and cheered for every goal, and that was definitely a save where I stood up and cheered as well. It was,
oh,
yeah,
yeah. That
just
as you should.
if they can have that second half every time, no, obviously you're not going to get three 2 point goals in a row, but, um,
But
you
even
had,
without the 2 point arc, I mean,
yeah,
9, 16 is 7. You take away 3, 4. So it's actually 4-4 in terms of actual putting the ball in the net for the second half, which is kind of crazy after just the bombardment on both sides in the first half. It seemed
yeah,
that like that actually I'm kind of just realizing that in real time that the twos really do make it seem
oh
like
yeah,
more than it was. And we talked about that like in the Archers game that both teams scored 9 times, but the Cannons won 14-9. And against the Water Dogs in Philly, we won 12-11, but the Water Dogs scored more goals than the
yep,
Cannons did. Same thing there. So it was actually both teams only put the ball in the net 4 times in the second half. The difference is that 3 of ours were from behind the arc,
Yeah.
which you can say, oh, we live and die by the two, or we're not
Yeah, I
as
think that was
good
true with
as
the
you say
Redwoods
we
game.
are. But like we won, didn't we? The
Yeah.
arc is there, whether you like it or not, it's there, and the cannons know how to use it, and it's fun. I
Oh my
freaking
God.
love the
Yeah.
2 point arc. It adds so much excitement to the game.
Yeah.
It
There
it
is like, no matter who scores it, but especially if it's someone unexpected, like Trainer or Tarafanko scored one for the Outlaws, like that
yeah,
gasses up the crowd in a way, and the team in a way
it,
that
it's
a
awesome.
one can't. Yeah.
Ethan Raw almost had one. His
Yeah.
foot was just barely on the
He
line.
he probably thought he was shooting it too when he let the ball
I
go.
think he did. Yeah, he just stepped in a little too much.
Yeah. Just
But
his toes. The
yeah,
rules of the rule it didn't matter anyway. But man, if that had been a two as well, that would have been.
oh, crazy,
And I think just,
crazy.
brief mention, I believe that that's now 14 twos on the year for the Cannons, and 15 is the PLL single season record. So if they get
Wow,
two in their final three games, much
two.
like,
That's a new record.
yeah, much like Jeff Teat. I mean, not as impressive as Jeff Teat, I don't think. But it's a pretty, and you think they probably should have already had it. They had a very subpar game against the Redwoods
Yeah,
that, um,
yeah. They
like
didn't
performance like
do
that.
anything from the midfield that game.
Yeah,
Easily could have had something there.
for sure.
But yeah, and they've got, obviously we mentioned they've got Denver in San Diego this weekend. Then they're Baltimore's homecoming, and they've got the
A
Whip
bye.
Snakes. Then they've got the
Oh yeah,
bye, and then they've got the
the
Chaos
chaos
in
to finish the
Salt
year.
Lake City.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, no,
I think they can do it.
I absolutely think they can do it. I
I think
mean,
they can do it.
obviously Blaze Raden is a scary way to end your year. You hope he doesn't take away I mean, he's not going to affect the confidence of any of these shooters. They know they're good. But
Yeah.
if they
But
that's
well, you, you talk about Blaze Reardon being so good in net. No offense, but is anyone terrified of seeing Owen McElroy in net?
I would say McElroy had a good game. I mean, he gave up 13, which is not nuts. And I think two pointers for the
Yeah.
Dogs.
I'm not
Um,
saying he shouldn't be a PLL goalie,
oh yeah.
but it I would have more confidence shooting on him than I did on Blaze.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, they'll get it done. I was just I don't know, honestly, I don't even know what the point I was making there was. No, I'm
I
super
also have
excited.
also have confidence against Krebs.
Yep.
Who what you were at the games on Friday, right?
Yes.
What was up with Ian McKay just punching him in the face? I didn't watch that game,
I have
so
no
all I
idea.
saw was the clip of McKay just socking him in the face for what seemed like no reason.
Yeah, I
Like
honestly
something had to have happened, but like,
I didn't see it happen live. It was after the quarter had ended. Um, so it was even extra uncalled for. I
wow.
do want to go back on ESPN Plus and just maybe watch that a little bit just to hear
Yeah.
whatever they're saying about it. Because yeah, that was very weird. I also was sitting next to Brendan Krebs' whole family for that game.
Oh, what
Yeah.
were they saying?
They honestly didn't have I think they missed it too, because they didn't have a very big reaction to that moment.
Hmm. Okay.
Obviously they're pulling hard for the whips. My friend and I, who was there, George, we were both pulling for the chaos, just Western Conference team versus the East. So,
Fair.
I mean, we kept it respectful, kept it civil, but I was not too happy, or I was not too sad to see the whip snakes loose.
Yeah. I think before we get into those other games, maybe is there anything else you wanted to talk about with the
Yeah.
Cannons game?
I think we need to seriously talk about the Battery Podcast bump, because for Alex Berdaro, before he came on, I believe he had one goal. Well, he did have one goal, and I think one or two games. And since then, he's had 5 goals in 3 games. He scored in every
Yep.
game since.
Okay.
I think that's noteworthy. And then for
Yep.
Trainer, 2 goals in 6 games. And now he comes on our podcast. He has 4 goals in his first game after that. So,
Three.
you know,
4 points, 3 goals.
yes, four
Yeah.
points. Uh, so
So
this is yeah, an open invitation to anyone on the Cannons who feels they maybe need to start scoring a
that
little.
Matt Kavanaugh? I
Yeah, I
mean,
didn't want to call him out.
no, I love you, Matt. You
Yeah.
know I love you, Matt.
Cade
But
Van Raphorst, you haven't gotten the two yet this year. If you want to get that, get
is
that
there
moment
anyone on the
back.
team that hasn't scored yet this year?
Anyone? I mean,
Watch us get Parlett to come on the podcast, and he hasn't even seen the field. He comes on the pod and then just
yeah,
somehow makes a roster and goes off.
yeah. I know. I don't. I think Fairman has scored, right? But I don't think Goodrich.
I don't know.
So I mean,
Let's
everyone on offense definitely
I
has scored.
I
Uh,
think what we need to do is just get every single player to come
yep.
on. So open invitation, boys. Let's just have the entire team on for like one call. Just get every single person in on the Zoom window. And
And
then
score 40.
exactly like
22 pointers.
it's over. It's
Yeah.
over.
Let's save that for the playoffs, though.
Yeah, good point. Good point. I like that.
Um, so maybe there's something there. Maybe there's not. I don't know. But I'm not gonna question
I'm
it.
not saying that if you come on the podcast, you're gonna have a great game afterwards, but I'm also not saying
Yeah.
that.
The evidence is inconclusive, but it does kind of lean that direction. We'll see. We'll see how this goes as the year.
There might not be a causation, but there certainly seems to be a
Certainly a correlation.
correlation.
Yeah.
So,
Um,
and the only way to really figure it out is to
yeah, we
just
need more
keep
data.
testing it.
Yeah.
So, boys, let's figure this out. Come on
Yeah.
the pod.
Maybe Coach Holman, maybe he'll score later this year.
Imagine.
I don't know
Oh,
what would have to go wrong for him to suit up.
how does that even happen? I don't know.
Win a challenge, maybe that's the closest it can come.
Kyle Hartzell just suit Adam Gittleman go in for one
Yeah.
breather and he just rips some like a full field just coast to coast
Yeah.
dunk. Oh, that'd be
Uh,
incredible.
yeah.
But
Um, so just worth noting.
yeah, worth
Um,
noting for sure.
yeah.
Um,
And now I think that wraps up the Cannons game. So we can just talk about the other three. So as we kind of mentioned, the Outlaws take down the Water Dogs 15-13 in a really exciting game. Um, O'Neal had a quiet 4 points. I looked at the score sheet. I was surprised to see it was that many. But Graham Bundy, man, he had two twos and a one. Tarasenko had another two. Um, Weirman not as dominant against Stathakis as I thought he would be, especially in the second half. Stathakis really turned it around. But the dogs just look lost. It's like give the ball to Sowers and McCardle and have them do something. Like if you look at every score sheet, it's Sowers with like 5 points, McCardle with 4 or 5, and then no one else with more than like two. Yeah, they're a very top heavy game. And I actually saw Andy Copeland was there. He's a former coach at Fairfield as well. They're watching the game. I introduced myself and just said, I respected him a lot as a coach, as a guy, but yeah, I don't know. The Tierney experiment not going so well in Philadelphia.
1 in 5 now?
Yeah, 1-5. Which
Oof.
is almost, I mean, thank goodness for them that the Whipsnakes lost as well, because that keeps them in contention for the playoffs, but it's not looking good, especially given
No, it
that
isn't. No,
oh,
it
they
is
play the
not.
Whips one more time. So they have 4 more games. They play the Atlas
Right.
twice, they play the Whips, and I think the Woods, but I forget who their final game is.
Yeah.
Um, and then as we mentioned, Chaos beat the Whipsnakes in overtime, 10-9. Pretty low scoring game. A lot of turnovers, a lot of missed passes. That was kind of frustrating to watch. Um, but I think again, good for the Cannons to get a little more separation. The Whips just I know Dan Arestia says it every week. They're like in between. Um, like some of their core is, a little bit past their prime now. There's younger players coming back. It was nice to see Tucker Dordevic back in the lineup, the rookie of the year last year, even though it should have been Ethan Rawl. Um, but Rambo is apparently on IR, so that obviously hurts them. Cannons game 3, we covered that, and then the final one of the weekend, the Archers beat the Redwoods 15-8. Um, they had the same matchup when I went to Fairfield last year. The Archers won 10-3, and man, like seeing a team you're kind of rooting for, because the Redwoods are my second favorite team, only put up 3 goals in a game is brutal to watch.
So
Um,
at least they put up 8.
yeah, at least they put up 8, but I was talking to Kyle from outside the box. I saw him hit a press pass, and like their
Mm,
offense, I called them shot clock violation LC because it's just give the ball to Pinnell. He dances around behind the goal for 20 seconds, shoots. Maybe he scores, maybe he doesn't. Maybe he doesn't score. It's just turnover, ball going the other way. Like they're Garnsey had no points in that game. They're frustrating to watch. Makes it even more embarrassing the Cannons lost, but I'll get over it. Uh,
yeah.
the good for the Archers. Connor Fields did magic again. Ament had a couple great goals. Like they look good for sure. Definitely the best in the West. Although I'm sure Denver is coming for them a little bit. But yeah, that wraps it up. So if we look at the standings, Cannons and um, Atlas are tied,
Atlas.
but Atlas have goal differential. Whips at 2 and 4, Dogs at 1 and 5. So pretty safe bet on who the top two in the East are going to be.
Yep.
Um, Archers,
Overall,
sorry.
overall standings, Cannons are also right there with Atlas.
Yep.
So that's the thing. It's tough. They're the second best team in the league. Well, I guess we don't want the bye, so I'm happy that
Yeah.
they technically are the 3 seed, even though they're technically tied for the best team in the league. But Archers would get 2, Cannons 3, and then yeah, go
Oh,
ahead with the rest of the standings.
right. So Archer's 4 and 2. They haven't had their homecoming yet. So that'll even out.
Yep.
But the goal differential, well, their goal differential is actually only one less than the Cannons. So that
Mm,
could flip the overall standings. But it doesn't really matter because they're probably going to be the
they're the
first.
West. Yeah.
Um, Somehow the Chaos at 3 and 3 are ahead of the Outlaws at 3 and 2. All my sports watching history tells me it should be the other way around, but whatever. It'll wind up evening out eventually. They'll all play the same number of games. And then, man, the lowly Redwoods at 1 and 4. They got to win one of their homecoming games. Let me see who they're playing. Um,
I
uh,
don't even know.
Schedule. So this upcoming weekend, Woods play the Chaos. That's the first game, and then the last game is against the Whips. They can. I
I mean,
I think they can beat the Whips.
I think they can win one of those games. I don't know
Yeah.
which one, but Chaos and Whips are 500
Yeah.
teams. So
Um,
you got to imagine the Woods get one of those games with the home
yeah.
crowd boost.
Now, not to stereotype or cast unfair aspersions on California. I don't think the crowd will be like we saw in New York, Philly, or Boston. But yeah, you hope it gives them enough of a boost. And I mean, who wouldn't want to play in San Diego? Um,
I mean,
it,
it's a phenomenal venue.
yeah, phenomenal
And
venue,
so
phenomenal.
Cali
Mm,
lacrosse is sneaky. It's
yeah,
growing. And it was the World Championships were there
yeah.
last year, and it so it's a good venue. So I do expect a good lacrosse crowd. I don't know how much they'll be leaning into the Woods, to be honest.
Mm. Because
I
also just a fun
but
fact is Peyton Rozenka on the Atlas from San Diego carpooled with my girlfriend when they were both in elementary school, or I guess when with my brother or with
that's
her
very
brother.
that's
Sorry.
very
Yeah.
very fun fact. So yeah, maybe there's some more Atlas fans
Yeah,
down
certainly
in
the Rozenka
Cali.
family.
There probably should be a good Atlas contingent, but yeah, I guess
Yeah, we'll definitely
we'll
see
see
on the
what
road.
happens next weekend. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I'll be
looking
rooting
forward
for
to the
him.
Denver matchup. We'll
Yeah.
we'll talk about that more later in the week though.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm excited for that. I'm glad for Denver slash Chrome fans that I mean they were the bottom of the league for so long, except for that
And
one
now
one good year. Um,
they're right in there. They're right in the
oh
mix,
yeah,
which
they're
is a place they have not been for
yeah, winning
ever.
record. If I remember correctly from the standings I read just a minute ago.
Yeah, three and
Uh,
two.
yeah, 3 and 2. So winning record. You can't ask much more after what in the first 5 seasons they had 4 losing records, and they were
Yeah,
the,
I mean
the
they're
worst
one
team
and
most of those
nine
years.
like multiple times, I think.
Yeah.
So
So happy for the Outlaws, but hopefully they're at 500 after next week.
yes.
Yeah, we'll be back on Thursday with a more in-depth conversation of that. Um, and yeah, that covers it. So thank you to every Cannons fan who made it down to Fairfield. Thank you to everyone who
Yep.
was at the watch party. And thank you everyone who listened to this for 30 whatever minutes. Um, And that is all for us. So until Thursday, go Cannons.
Go Cannons. Boom.
Boom.